Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, I'm Reese. So I just got back from South Korea back in mid-November, right before Thanksgiving. And I worked on my sketchbook. If you have been with me before, you know that I also went last year and I did a sketchbook tour recently of the first half of my work in my sketchbook that I did last year. So now, after this second trip this fall, I am going to today share my second tour, the second half of this sketchbook. But I want to tell you that my sketchbook had an incident, and I want to tell you a little bit about that today. It was almost completely destroyed, and I'm going to tell you what happened and my solution. So, a little bit of drama on the trip, but we survived. It's here, and so that's why we're going to be sharing with you the sketchbook tour today. I hope that you enjoy. A lot of people have been asking me, when's this coming? So today is the day, and I hope you enjoy. I already shared my previous pages in that other video, and if you want details and to see that, you can go back and check that out. So this was my very first page when I got to Korea in October. So there is several palaces in Seoul, and three major ones. And in one of the palaces, this is the palace I went to, which was Deoksun Palace. They have the cafe next to this beautiful pond. And so when I first arrived, I went to the place. And so it's, like I said, half a cafe and half a shop. And they call these places sarang, which means love. So it's a cafe named Love, or cafe/shop named Love. And it seems like that all the palaces, their shops/cafes, are all called sarang. And then I realized that after visiting a one last year and making note of the name and seeing that as this one as well. So I thought that was pretty interesting, but it was such a beautiful view. The pond was surrounded by all kinds of trees, and it has this island in the middle, which all was in full fall colors. And some of the leaves had actually fallen into the pond, and so that's why there's this orange layer here, and the shadows, and a little bit of some little plants growing inside the water as well, and lots of birds and lots of people just walking around taking photographs because there's so much beauty and scenic spots to do. So this is what I sat on a rock and did while I was there, and I didn't do it to completion because it's a lot of detail, but I eventually finished it up. And then on another day, I did these three trees. Now there's a bit of a gap because when I first went to Seoul, I was just going back and doing some touristy things that I had not accomplished yet. So I sat in the hotel I was staying at, and right across the street from both the palace and City Hall, which is an amazing place with a beautiful modern building that looks like a glass wave, and then there's an old building that looks like maybe something from Back to the Future, an old style building that is the library right next to it. So it's just a really beautiful place. And then I went to Jeonju, which this is my second time in Jeonju. And I went into this other place. It's kind of like a palace as well. It's a walled area with lots of old structures in it. And I sat down. I took my stool with me, my unfolding stool. You might have seen that in one of my other videos showing you what I took with me. And I sat down and I proceeded to paint this gate. Now this area is a very popular area for a lot of tourists. All of Jeonju is very touristy for all the Koreans and foreigners. And it's also a popular place for Korean drama. So the most recent one was called The Queen's Umbrella. So a lot of these locations in this particular area were used in the shots for that particular drama. There's a gate over here that was a famous kind of spot where everybody was lining up to take pictures. And then behind me, there, in this direction, there's another building that you will see later on that I went back and did. But it was really cute. I had a lot of people approaching me because it is more populated inside this area. But everybody stops and asks questions and wants to know why I'm here. And a little girl kept coming up to me and wanting to see what I was doing, and she was so adorable. She was so shy, but so sweet. And then in the back of the book, I let her doodle with my paints a little bit. So precious, precious moments. So then this page. This page is the page where my incident occurred. So initially, I have a person that I know in Jeonju who has a little cute cafe. Lots of antiques inside his cafe. And so I was visiting one day and I sat down and I picked out a chandelier and this old door handle that he had added to his collection with a cupid with wings. And so I decided to just draw little accents from his cafe. I actually had done his cafe before. It's called Dao's Story. I did an element outside the sign for his cafe. But, so you will see this yellow right here. So the next day I went to this other location and sat down in front of this 600-year-old ginkgo tree. And I actually brought back some of the leaves from this tree. So I thought I would show them to you really quickly. How beautiful. And they're more vibrant, I think, because they start to fade to a point. I think my light gets kind of darker as I get closer to the camera up here, but really beautiful fan-shaped leaves. And yeah, from 600-year-old ginkgo tree. So anyways, I brought those home as well because I really admired this tree so much. Let me move this out of the way quickly if I can. Here, we'll put a couple here for commemorative purpose. Let's see. Here, I'll put these over here just to represent the tree. But it was so beautiful because it was backlit and the tree trunk was very dark. And then some of the buildings, or a lot of the buildings, because the area I was in Jeonju, it's a Hanok village. It's an old Korean style buildings. So you think about Japan, for example, because you might have seen more Japanese, old historical Japanese structures in movies and stuff. But it's a similar kind of a style, but they're called Hanoks here in Korea. And this tree had a statue next to it talking about the history of this tree. So I thought it was so beautiful, and I had sat down on my stool here as well. And a young man approached me, and I got up after, because I'd been sitting there for a while, because it was almost done. And I got up and I put my book on my stool. And I was talking to him, and when he walked away, so the way, and I'll have to show you an image or a picture if I can. In the main part of Jeonju, there are some streets or a street that has this little concrete stream that runs alongside the road and the sidewalk. And it's really beautiful, and it's got a lot of like nice sounds to it and stuff. It's really, really cute. But when I stood up so quickly, I knocked my little stool, and all of a sudden my whole book fell into the stream. Luckily, like this. And it was floating down the stream. Want to talk about a heart attack? I had one. But I survived. Luckily, the way it collapsed, it was in a way that many pages did not get too wet, amazingly. I was so thankful. But all this work transposed onto this page. So that's what all this yellow is about. And so since then, I've had to go back and do some restorative work and trying to make this look like it initially was again. But that's what all this yellow was, and I couldn't do a whole lot about it. I have tried to put a wash to make it look more purposeful, but I also think sometimes these things, and this is actually the way I had to end up thinking about it, I had to think about it as a scar representing the journey of the sketchbook. So I decided to see it as beautiful and not as a negative thing, even though I had to do some fix-up work. And it just made it, I think, more interesting all in all. But I'm still working on things a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with it. But the other pages, a lot of pages did not get wet at all. It did mess up this page as well. So I've had to go back and restore this page as well. And this is one whole scene of this gate and the bamboo that's next to it. But this lightened quite a bit as well, and I've had to do some work to that. And maybe in my next video or an upcoming video, I will go back and talk about how I did some of this work, if you're interested. So let me know. So then I went all around Jeonju. I was there for 2 weeks. I was in an Airbnb, and during the day I would just walk around and take my stool and find places to stop when I wasn't just observing, and just sit down and do a watercolor. So I did this store, but I still need to complete it. So I'm gonna go back to my reference photo and do that in a bit. And the reason why I didn't get to do it all the way was because it was getting dark, and actually her lights came on. People were going in and out because this is a rental hanok that people can go and stay at overnight. So the proprietress was there and coming in and out of her gate. And so this is another road next to, so that place, it's kind of like a palace. It's an old educational facility that I was in. This is the outer wall of that place. Now a lot of the palaces have these types of walls that surround the palace or any kind of old facility like this one is. And the girls wear, or people in general, not just the girls, they wear hanboks, which is traditional Korean clothes from old times. So I represented the girls that I saw right there. And just really just loving all the colors of the ginkgo trees and the distant mountains and stuff. So that's what I focused on there. And then this is a little road that is next to like the major kind of area. It's not too far from my Airbnb, and there's two little side roads, and then this is a small trail that connects. It's a small short segment that connects these two main roads, but it's so beautiful. It's got all these plants and beautiful trees, and a Confucian school right here, and the Fan Museum's over here. And at the beginning of this entrance is this group of statues of these really cute ducks that I've fallen in love with. I saw them last year as well, and I thought they were just adorable. And so I had to spend some time observing the ducks as well. This little road and the spot with these ducks. It's like a little path between two other roads. It's like a little walking path that connects one small road with another small road, and it's really cute. I wish I could take it home with me. All of it. It's so peaceful here most of the time. And that tree in full bloom, the ginkgo tree, so gorgeous. There's an art museum right here. It's kind of loud right now. And I sat here the other day painting. That tree back there. And it's really beautiful. The spot is almost perfect. need one all to myself. But today it's crisp and cool, and it feels so lovely. Just perfect, just right. I'm warm enough for the sweater, but not hot at all. Lots of tourists, like me. But I think you might find it interesting that before I started this particular composition, I went ahead and I did a thumbnail because I wanted to make sure how I wanted to represent this little pathway. And so it was a really quick study just to get how I want it laid out. And then I got started on my drawing and on my watercolors. Mostly this is watercolors, a little bit of luminance pencils for accents, and a little bit of micron pencil that I popped in just because I was trying to get in some dark accents really quick, and I did that here a bit as well. Then on the back streets, I went down this one alley and saw this beautiful twisted short Korean pine tree, and this gate that surrounded a property with this beautiful building behind it. And I thought I'd sit down here and also just get started. And there's so much detail. It's hard not to get caught up in all the details of what you're doing. But I managed to do it. And I did have to complete part of it in the cafe shop that I was staying at a lot, or going to a lot. That was my subject. And we'll finish this up later. It's crazy windy. Crazy windy. It's a pretty location, quiet for the most part, but way too windy. Although I think all of today will be too windy, but it's okay. It's time to pack up. Let's see if we can find a Jeonju bathroom. It's continue the adventure. And then around the corner from where the ducks are, there's this other, right behind it actually, is another beautiful ginkgo tree that was in full yellow. And this is part of the Confucian school here, so I did that. And this is a really expensive restaurant that I did not go to because I could not afford it. Well, I could, but you know. And it's called bancha, which is like side dishes. I believe that's what it's saying. But I loved all the elements. The plants that were growing on the roof, and the wood, and then they had this. It's like a treated metal to make the sign. So it had a lot of beautiful colors that were going on in that particular location. So sat there a while. I love all the interactions that I have with people. I had people from Japan approach me that were visiting a local gallery, and I just love that. I love meeting people and people trying to talk to me even though I don't speak Korean, not very well at least. This was another tree. I really love the Korean pines. They're beautiful. It's funny because they have a hint of like a dark and a medium sienna color to them. And then in certain lights, some of the branches towards the top begin to look almost pink in a way, in particular lighting. So they're really quite striking. And near my Airbnb, this is a coffee shop that I went to most mornings because they had less expensive coffee. It was reliable and literally just probably less than 1 minute, 2 minutes from my Airbnb. And it's called Holly's Coffee, which they have a chain of Holly's all over Korea. I don't know where else Holly's is at, but it's definitely all over Korea. But they had amazing coffee. And I will say most of Korea has amazing coffee, to be honest with you. It was funny though, when I first started staying in my Airbnb, I heard one night some people singing and it sounded like karaoke. And after I did this, I didn't realize, because I was just really drawing the elements. I realized this says nore, which is singing. So this is actually where the karaoke was at. So kind of interesting. So back in that place I was telling you about before, where I had gone and sat and did this watercolor, where the Queen's umbrella had been shot, back this way is where this building is. And I did this towards the end of my stay in Jeonju. I think it was maybe the day before I left. No, the last day. It's the actual last day I left. I did this in the morning. And, no, actually, I left Sunday morning. So anyways, doesn't matter. But I did this, and I always get bogged down. I love the details of these old buildings in Korea, but you just don't have time to represent them completely. So I had to come home and touch it up some extra bit because I had not completed it to the level that I wanted to complete it. But before that, this was a couple of days before that, I went to a gate. So Jeonju is an older area where the kings of Korea were born. It's, I guess, the original seat, possibly. But this gate was there, and it had a wall that surrounded Jeonju. And most things like that, most old elements, the wall, for example, they're all gone because when the Japanese occupied South Korea, or Korea in general, they tore a lot of things down. But this particular gate, and that you would walk in and out of this area right here through this tunnel, still remains. It has had to have reconstruction done to it, but it's a beautiful historical element in Jeonju. But there's actually buildings around it. They're just short buildings. You could see them if you were standing right where I'm at, but I chose to omit them. And this was a shrub that was in front of me. So a lot of activity here. It was hard to sit for very long, and this is another thing that I did partially on site, and then I went to a cafe or a place, it was actually a tea house, and I sat down and I finished it up. So, all right, I don't want this video to be too long, so I'm gonna try and finish this up pretty quick, and I'll try to give you more details later. So this is a restaurant that it's very near my Airbnb, and I ended up going here a lot of nights because it was so close, and they had a beautiful atmosphere in there. It had a lot of antiques and playing Nora Jones and, you know, that type of jazz or blues sounds, and beautiful staff, wonderful, kind people. They didn't serve any Korean food, to be honest with you. It was all Western food, like pancakes or French toast or sausage and eggs and soups and salads and that sort of thing. But I love the history of this old building. This building was built during the Japanese occupation in 1938. And so this building's called, or the restaurant's called, 1938 Mansion. And it was initially built by a Japanese gentleman for the purpose of people living in it as apartments. And but now it's a beautiful landmark. And I actually think it was after that, it was the home of part of the Korean Revolution or something like that. So really cool history. I have relatives born in 1938, and so it just kind of put things in perspective to me. And I kept thinking about, not only was I thinking about the old history of Joseon, the Joseon era, and the old kings and queens and the kingdom of Shilla and all the beautiful old history of Korea, but also this newer time that was very, very close to our own time. I found it interesting to being in that building and feeling that history and thinking about that history. In fact, this is an old post place where you would put your mail that was left over from that time. And I thought that was interesting. It's partially in Korean, English, and then Japanese. So it's like this huge metal orange container right outside. I don't know if this was traditionally there already or if they add it, because they love history inside this building. So a lot of historical elements. And yeah, really wonderful, kind people. Matter of fact, when I was sitting there painting this on the watercolor, on that day, I was across the street and it was really cold that day. It must have been in the 30s and I was freezing. And because I'd been in here so often, they noticed I was over there painting this painting. And the lady that owns the place walked across and gave me a cup of warm coffee. And eventually I went inside for some soup later on. So really nice place. So after I left Jeonju, I went back to Seoul and went and saw some sites, and that's when I visited some of the stores that had the calligraphy brushes and paints and things that I saw. And but one of the places that I wanted to go, so I follow a young lady named Carrie Cakes. That's her handle, her YouTube handle, her Instagram handle, Carrie Cakes. And she lives in Seoul with her husband. And so she talks about going to Seoul Forest a lot. And I needed a nature break. And so I decided to go to Seoul Forest and see what it looks like. So I picked this particular place. I love birds. And so I thought it was really cool. This looks like some sort of restoration project where they're trying to, help a particular bird survive because it had a number on the box attached to this tree. I don't know what kind of bird it is, which one it is, but I love stuff like that. Love nature. So then after that, it was time to go home. And so here's the last page. And I thought I was going to get a chance to do something wonderful and fun, because I had some time in the morning. And unfortunately, it rained all day. So I had to sit in a cafe drinking coffee until it was time for me to go to the airport. And so I just decided to do a bunch of illustrations of people walking in the rain. So that was my final installment in the sketchbook. So I know that was longer than I thought it was going to be, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you glean some information from it that might be helpful in thinking about your own travels or just even staying local and working in your sketchbooks. But like I said, if you want to go back and see the first part again, you can watch this part, and I talk about what I did in the first half of my journey. So with that said, I think I'll wrap up today's video right here, guys, because I don't want to get too long, and I got a feeling it's already getting long. But I hope that you all have a wonderful Christmas. I'm going to try and put out a video next week. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to be doing. I don't know if I'm just go right into the restoration part of this or if it'll be something else. Maybe something related to holiday, something that looks holiday-ish. I'm not sure. I'm still mulling over. But anyways, I hope that you have a wonderful and beautiful holiday season if you're celebrating. And if not, I hope you have a beautiful and blessed creative week ahead. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon. Drop me an emoji if you've made it all the way here. Okay, take care. Bye. 안녕.